most dangerous roads in the entire world, and this lady was on one of them. So please give it up for our very own Miss Genesys Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah. Slideshow, please. Hey, guys. He's really not kidding. The first day, it took us 38 hours from the time we left here until we actually got to the missions building. We left Monday at 5:30, and we got there Wednesday at some time. I don't even know, honestly. It was rough. It took 3 planes, 2 cars, and a bus. The first time. Yeah. The way home was even worse because Pastor Anthony had food poisoning. So he was throwing up for 6 out of the 15 and a half hours. He was on all fours in the plane. Literally, I'm pretty sure he's going to tell you this on Sunday, but I'm going to tell you this now. But he was on all fours, literally in the aisle of the plane. The seatbelt sign was on, and they were yelling at him because he obviously can't be on all fours on the plane. But he told them that if he got up, he was going to throw up on them. So he did not get up. All right, we are going to start. I only picked the highlights. You guys will see all of the greatest parts on Sunday in more depth because I'm time limited. So, this is the beginning. This is how far we traveled in the top right. That was the actual flight. So we took a 3.5-hour flight from Tampa to New Jersey. We had a 4-hour layover. Then, it was an hour and a half, first time. Then we had the flight from Newark to New Delhi, which was 15 hours. We had a 12-hour layover with an hour bus ride from the airport to the hostel where we stayed. And then we got to sleep for 10 hours. Well, kind of. They like to talk at night and eat pizza. And their cheese pizza has ham on it, just for the record. This was my view once we got into India, and that was probably the best thing I saw the whole entire time I was there. All right, next slide. Let's, do this. I don't know. I'll have, a snap or something. Okay. I don't know what you guys want me to do. Okay, this was day 1. So as soon as we got there, it was 6 o'clock at night. We got to eat and finally get into our beds. So the next morning, we started our morning, and that was the whole initiation that we got. This is day 1. These are the children at this school. So let me give you a rundown of this school. This is a Catholic school with Hindu principals. Try to figure it out. They are very confused. There's 148 students at this school. There are 22 teachers. We were able to actually minister to all of them. So the founder of the school is a Christian, but since everyone in this area of India is either Muslim or Hindu, he basically just started the school so that people can go to school. At this time, there was 148 students, like I said. It is really hard in India for them to let girls be with girls and boys be together. So girls are on one side and boys are on the other side, kids to adults. We were able to actually give a play, all of us. I was Mary. Diane was an angel. Josh was Jesus. Pastor Anthony was, I don't know who he was. I forgot, but he beat the crap out of Josh with a real whip. It was hilarious. You'll see it on Sunday. But moral to the story, we actually got to give a play of Jesus' resurrection. So in 12 minutes, these students actually were so impacted that we had 78 children raise their hands to pray the prayer of salvation. 4 teachers also in all of the congregation. And the other ones were just way too young. So it starts at 3 and goes till 18. So that's truly amazing. Now we're going to get down and dirty. This is the reality of India. This is exactly what it looks like no matter where you turn. So if you turn to the left, there's going to be all greenery, tea fields, and everything else. But within those tea fields, you're going to find women who are completely broken down, that are literally stuck like this because they've been picking tea since they were born, basically. This is the handicap village. This village is so near and dear to my heart. This is where anyone who has leprosy, mentally handicapped, any type of disease, anything that is going to cost the government money, they put them here. They send them to the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere with no assistance, no food, no clothing, no nothing. If you are an outsider and you're trying to help them, you get shunned and put into something like this. These are the actual circumstances of how they live. A lot of their roofs are tarps, and they're held on by sticks that they find on the side of the road that most people actually throw at them. So they use that to hold their house down. All of the roads are clay. Leading up into their houses is clay. If it's broken, there's no way to fix it. So say their house is down here. This man has 2 broken legs, and he has to climb up stone pieces to get to the clay in order for him to get food if there is food that's coming that day. It's impossible. So being a missionary or on the missions field, there is no restriction as to who you're going to pray for, who's going to come to you. If they're dirty, if they're gross, if they stink, or anything else, it doesn't matter. What you're going to be doing is spreading love. You're going to be telling people exactly who Jesus is. And since these people spoke Hindu and we spoke English, that was obviously a language barrier. But there is no barrier when you're speaking in love. And when these people literally don't have anybody that come to them, anybody that does anything, that they literally just get put off in the middle of nowhere. So somebody comes and visits them maybe once a year. So if you're coming there, especially as an American, they see you as they literally worship the feet that, where you walk. They will worship and sit at your feet. We had to multiple times tell them, no, it's not us. Jesus, and point and everything else. So in top left, where we're holding his eyes, that man is blind. He was able to see out of his left eye when we were done praying for him. This woman in the middle, her left leg she was born with it backwards. So instead of it going this way, it's bent the other way. Obviously that didn't change when we were praying for her, but we're going to keep praying for her. She was able to walk, she was able to sit, and she was able to climb up the steps from her house to get to the hall where we were preaching. The man in the top right is a walking miracle. That man had leprosy. He literally, his fingertips were gone, his toes were gone, to the point he only had half feet, where leprosy, it eats away its own skin. You could see it if it wasn't really so far away, but he only had his knuckles left. This man last year, when the pastor had come with a different team, was baptized in a near lake, and his leprosy immediately stopped. He's just a walking miracle. So he actually comes around to the villages and stuff and tells people about Jesus and just reminds them exactly who they are in Christ and what Jesus did for him. And it's just a constant reminder that there is someone that loves you, especially if you're living in circumstances like this. We live in America and we still feel like, woe is me. They live in nothing and have nothing and sleep on concrete floors, and this man is constantly telling them exactly who they are because the government's telling them that they have 30 million idols that they need to worship and pray to find exactly what their calling is or how they're going to get to the next step or whatever. 30 million gods they have. It's ridiculous. The bottom right, she is mentally handicapped, and she was beat the crap out of. Her family was beat the crap out of, and they left her on the side of the road, nowhere near this village. They found their way there. And Craig has this, I don't even know what it is, but he spoke to her. It was like the dog whisperer, but it was the human whisperer for her, and the whole family just fell out in tears. To see this was truly a miracle. And the bottom left here, her name is Shirley. She has eyes like glass, and she's not blind. She literally has crystal clear eyes. Diane and Craig actually sponsor her and have been sponsoring her for a couple years. And she was supposed to have died 3 years ago. And she's still standing and still eating and still everything else in this community, which is awesome. So on this day, this is exactly what we did. So if you can see, these are all the women and the men that actually came in. So they followed us into this hall. Everything's concrete. Everything's on the floor. You have to be covered when you pray, so you have a shawl over your head. The woman in the top, at the top left picture, the woman with the pink shawl right in the front right, can you see her? She's possessed. The woman in the back right, sitting under that square window with the brown shawl, she's also possessed. They have markings on their head of ash on how many demons are within them. These are literally only things that you see in the Bible, but this is real life. This is really happening. So in this time, we were able to worship with them. We were able to give them blankets, and we were able to give them hot food. While we were worshiping, both of those women completely fell out in the spirit right in front of us, flipping out, wailing, and everything else, and then immediately stopped. Those demons had no place where we were because we were spreading God's love and covering them with the blood of Jesus. Sorry. This is where it gets a true reality check. On one of the days that we were there, we went backpacking through a village, multiple villages. So there's a man, his name is Sharon. Him and his family used to live in the church on the top of the mountain, the very tip. It's called ALM. We actually provided the funds for them to build it. The radicals came in and completely destroyed the church. His wife all of a sudden died. We think it's poison from the government because they're trying to kill out all Christians by 2020. And everyone who's left got sent into, again, these concrete buildings with tarps as roofs and everything else. The only way that they are able to get God's word is if they travel 5+ miles every single Sunday up these clay mountains. As you can see, this is when it's dry, but they had to walk up all these clay mountains barefoot because they don't have any supplies to be able to worship and pray and everything else. And we can't even come to church when it's sprinkling outside. So we actually had to do that. It is monsoon season, and we were church, helping out with the church, so we were going house to house. A lot of the houses that we went to were there about a mile apart from each other. So we actually had to walk each house to do house calls and just to pray over them. And each house, as it's pouring down rain on top of us, we have literally a whole chain of 8 people up and down. Because this right here in the middle, as soon as that gets wet, there's not steps anymore. It's literally clay. And all of these roads have potholes in it that are filled with water. So as soon as you step in it, you can easily twist your ankle. It is very, very serious. These houses, this is literally what they live in. And it doesn't get any better than this. It literally just gets worse. They have no air conditioning. They have no heat. There's no insulation. There's no beds. There is no food. There is no running water. They do not have clothes, and yet there's 15 kids running around per house. It is absolutely bizarre. But the one thing that they did do, they were so receptive to what we had. They were so receptive to us just praying over them. They were more than welcome, just welcoming us in their house, letting us just greet their kids. Emily had every single baby, every house in her hands. Talk about baby fever. And still, it's just like bringing it back to America. We're so selfish and simple-minded that we can't let people in our house. We're definitely not walking anywhere, especially not barefoot. But these are real circumstances that we really need to think about. And it was tough. It was really tough. On Sunday, every single person that we went to on their house, there was 15 houses that we went to. There was multiple people in each house. Every single person that we prayed over came to church that Sunday. Every single one of them. There was 4 people that offered praise reports. 3 of them said they had severe sicknesses that they couldn't shake and that they weren't going to come to church anymore. And after we prayed over them, they didn't have those feelings anymore. There was a woman that had a tumor in her neck that was clear as day, and we constantly prayed over it, and she said that she sneezed it out. Yeah, it was on, and Diane prayed directly for this woman to sneeze the tumor out, and she had a praise report the next day, and there was nothing on her neck. Literally. It's crazy. So again, all these women here and all the men, so the men and women are separated. We had to teach them what it was to pray for their pastors. They just thought it was a handout, that it was okay. We taught them how to pray for their pastors. We taught them the foot washing ceremony, that they are to just love their pastors. Let me give you a rundown of Pastor Sharon. This is Pastor Sharon and his wife in the middle. Their two little girls are right here. There's a third one, but Joanna is a rebel. You cannot get her to sit still. It's in her eyes that she's just, I don't even know. You'll see her. She's a rebel. She's never anywhere to be found. She's always stealing kids' snacks and everything else. So Pastor Sharon and his wife and his family actually lived in the church that I was telling you about where the radicals tore it down. They were staying up there, and it's literally in the middle of the jungle. There's nothing around. And one night there was a viper, the snake that could kill you, hanging above their bed, like ready to attack. Yeah. And that same Sunday they were in service, and Joanna was 5 now, so she was 2 then, and the mom was holding her in the service, and a python was sneaking up through the service while everyone was worshiping and closing their eyes. Yes. So, praise report, we raised $8,000 for a church that they are building from the ground up, completely debt-free, where they can live at. That's no snakes, no animals, no nothing, completely debt-free. So, praise report. That's never going to get old. I'm just going to snap all the time now. All right, so one of the biggest things that we actually got to do, Diane and Craig bought an eye kit before we left, and this was literally, we learned how to give eye exams, we learned what cataracts were, and we learned it all in a 10-minute video, and we were all of a sudden optometrists, whatever the word is. Go with it, you know what I mean. So all of these glasses that you see up here were all donated. We did not pay for any of them. The eyeglass kit on the right-hand side, the top right, that's Pastor Jamie. He is amazing. But basically what we had, there was 2 sets of glasses. So either you're nearsighted or you're farsighted. There's 4 different degrees. Yeah, go with it. 4 different degrees. So we tested all of them. They all got an eye exam. They all either got a doctor prescription to get a surgery for their cataracts, or they all got glasses. So we ended up seeing 54 patients, and 48 of them actually were able to get glasses, and the other ones didn't need anything. So with this one was so amazing to me because it's the simplest things that we take for granted, like being able to see. They had no idea that they were blind. They had no idea that they couldn't see. This woman in the middle here, there was 2 women. This woman specifically in the middle here, she had a plus 4.5. Legally blind is plus 5.0. When we gave her her glasses, she began crying literally could not stop crying because she was able to see her grandkids. She was able to see the face of her children, of her husband that she hadn't been able to see in years and years and years. She was able literally just to see the whole world. It was amazing just to see how all of these people, like, even go day by day. How do you walk in the road? When I tell you these people don't know how to drive, their roads are 1.5 car lengths apart. So you play chicken all the way up until you see who's going to go left or right to stop. Like, we had fresh revelation, fresh baptism in the Holy Spirit like 10 times a day. I'm not even kidding. I could have peed myself almost every time, and I might have, but you know. So the best part about this, and I really wanted you guys to get this, is this woman right here in the bottom right is they were all Hindu, all of the women that came. And the best part is that when they had to get tested for reading glasses, they had to read the Bible to us to see what their script was. And it's not that they had no idea. We kind of tricked them. But at the end of it, every single person that left got prayed over. Not one person left that didn't get prayed over, that didn't get loved on, that didn't literally anything that, I guess we tricked them. But Jesus was there, so it's okay. The best part is, like, so women, how Pastor Anthony said on Sunday, the divorce rate in India is only 1%. This doesn't mean that they have successful marriages. This means that men and women are picked to get married. The men can be as abusive, anything else, to the women, and if that woman divorces that man, they are completely shunned from society and put into one of those villages that you saw on the previous slide. That is why there's a 1% divorce rate. So these women actually came without their husbands, which is the only reason why they were able to read the Bible freely. It's because in that time, they can actually know who Jesus is instead of the God that they think that their husband knows. In this country, there is a temple that stands as tall as the Empire State Building, every 6 feet. That they have idols wrapping around it, completely lining the fence. There's people sitting outside of the temple, and they do prayer calls for hours and hours and hours all day long. That's all you can hear the entire time. So to hear these women actually accept Jesus and to let us pray over them freely is truly amazing, because they have that stronghold of not only their husband, but their children, because they're taught that in their schools. And now they know who God is, or at least can just have that love over them and know, like, the Americans brought Jesus to them, and they can talk about it freely because that's what they were doing. They were having a community. Okay, this is my favorite part, because every single time I go to another country, I have a goal. Usually it's a food goal, but India I didn't eat because everything was either hotter, or hotter. So I had a goal. I was like, I'm going to see an elephant. And you see everywhere there's elephant crossings, but there was never an elephant. I was so upset. I literally made everyone stop and pray in the car because I was like, Jesus, if this is your will, you're going to send an elephant. So we went on a safari. That was our gift. We went on a safari, and it was outrageous. These deer were literally that close to our car. Every 10 feet. It was ridiculous how many deer there were. This monkey in the top right, you can't see its face, but think of like a really old, grumpy, mean man. That's what its face looks like. I'm not even kidding. It's scary. And it has its tail. The tail hangs all the way down, and it'll kill you. It kills you with its tail. It strangles you. You stare at its face, and you get mesmerized by its face, and it literally strangles you. I'm not even kidding. I don't know what it's called, but that's exactly what they do. So, Pastor Anthony, let me just give you this illustration. There's 9 people in an SUV. That's strike one. Then we have this thing, monkey old man. It's like from here to Courtney. So Pastor Anthony climbs out of the window to take a picture of the monkey from the side. So it's like inching its way towards it. And of course, he doesn't see it because he's looking at his phone. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, does anybody else see that this monkey is coming a little bit closer? And it just keeps going like this. And I'm like, does anybody else see this? Like, nobody. And I'm like, Josh. And he's in his phone. Emily's like, I don't even know, she's probably sleeping. But all the windows are down, so it could easily come in and kill us. So I'm like, you guys, we should probably put the windows up, a little bit. Just a little bit. And they listened finally, so it was cracked. But meanwhile, we go to drive away, and there's 3 other monkey old men that creeped their way onto the branch right next to it. They were gonna come and kill us. Nobody even paid attention. Yes, with the tail. I was dying slowly. That's when I probably peed myself. It was real, guys. This was really real. But these animals ransack the villages. The elephants go and torment the people. They run through their concrete buildings, and they terrorize them. So people are truly afraid of the monkeys and the elephants. The deer, they're just cute. I don't know. They were like, Bambi! But let me give you a story of this elephant. So I wanted to see these elephants so bad. And I got to see it. This is real life. This is another Pastor Anthony story. This elephant is actually that far away from us. Pastor Anthony climbs out of the car to take a picture of the elephant that we just got warned was ransacking the villages. Emily climbs from the 3rd row of the seats, through the 2nd row, out the window to go stand next to Pastor Anthony to take a picture of this elephant. You know when those people die in the movies? This is the people that die in the movies first. So I'm in the car yeah, there's an elephant. I can see it through the window. And it starts walking too. And mind you, this thing can run, fast. And those tusks are real. They can really penetrate you and kill you. So it started really walking, and we left them. We had to drive. We drove, and they were running after the car because I was freaking out from the 3rd row in the car. Okay, now I'm going to give you the elephant story. I just had to tell you because they're crazy. So the way they train the elephants here is the men They cut off their tusks. That's the whole point of the elephants. They sell them, they use them. They cut off their tusks. They use elephants to garden or whatever they try to do. They don't have, they plow. They don't have giant machinery to build stuff, so they use the animals as well as they could. So these elephants, how they trap them is they go and they dig this giant hole in the ground. They use an elephant that they already have trained, basically like boy and girl, so they seduce the elephant, and it falls into this hole. Then the other elephant comes and uses its tusks to pull it out. While it's in the hole, they put chains on its feet, and they are so tight that it cuts through the elephant's skin. So now they are literally at the mercy of man, because if they move at all, they know that it hurts. So they use the elephant to pull the other elephant out of it, and they bring it into their captivity where they torture these elephants to the point that their skin is completely peeled off and they are like mesmerized by man. So while they're there, they start taking the shackles off the elephant little bit by little bit. But the elephant is still stuck in knowing that he can only move like 3 feet this way, 3 feet this way, like 1 foot back. So he is completely trained. So at this time, the chains are now completely taken off the elephant, but the elephant still only goes 3 feet this way, 3 feet this way, 1 foot this way, or however the dimensions are. And so as Pastor Jamie was telling me the story, obviously, I was really upset because I wanted to see this elephant. But in my mind, elephants are super sweet and fun, and you can bathe them and ride them and everything else because that's America. But as he was telling me the story, I was like, let's put this into perspective. So let's think of us. So we are the elephants. Our sin is those chains on our legs and our arms. So our enemy is going to remind us, you can only go 3 feet this way, and 3 feet this way, and 1 foot back. Even when those chains are gone, the enemy is going to remind you, you can only go 3 feet this way, 3 feet this way, and 1 foot this way. Do you hear me? So, when we're in our day-to-day lives, we cannot let that enemy win. We cannot be chained by something that is not there, because God chose us. He renewed us. We are reborn because of him. We are founded in him. That is it. We are not chained. We are not because of man. We are not bonded to anything else. We are free. Come on. I had to give you a little bit of Jesus. So while I was thinking about this, I actually come to a scripture, and it's a little bit long, but it's exactly what I just said. If you guys want to turn it with me, it's Ephesians 4:17 through 23. If not, I'm going to read it for you. I didn't put it up there because I just got this. So I tell you this, and insist on in the Lord, that you must no longer live as the Gentiles do, in the futility of their thinking. They are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. Having lost all sensitivity, they have given themselves over to sensuality so as to indulge in every kind of impurity, and they are full of greed. That, however, is not the way of life you learned. When you heard of Christ and you were taught in him in accordance with the truth that is in Jesus, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. So, let's be a free elephant. For the first portion of when I first became a youth leader, we were in the series of prayer. And we all learned how to pray through, there's like ACTS was the acronym, and what was the other one? ACTS and pray. Oh, okay. Easy as that. So these are specific people that I want us to pray for right now. Pastor Jamie and his wife, they're in the middle with their kids. Those are the ones that almost got eaten by the snake. I'll give to her in a second. The top left people is actually women who are barren, that were barren. We prayed over them, and after 8 years of prayer, they had 3 children. But that is very common in where they are. They are either barren or they're widows. They don't have a long life expectancy, but the women still surpass the men. Amen. And then here on the bottom bottom left is the pastors that we actually had a pastors conference that are raising up Christians in the worst part of India, where the radicals are slitting the throats of women because women are nothing. They're slitting the throats of women on the side of the road. They are ransacking all the churches and taking hostages, basically. And this woman here, her name is Ujwal, or we call her Julie. She was actually a member of Abundant Life for 6 years. She got sent back to India on a visa, and she is a Christian in a highly Muslim area, and she's beaten every single day on the subway. The police do not listen to her whatsoever because she's Christian. Who cares? She can't hold a job because she's Christian. They run her out of every single job possible. Her parents were actually in the upper caste system, very wealthy, but when she converted to Christianity, they disowned her. And both of her parents died, and her sister took the wealth, so there's no way that she can go back. And since it's a caste system, she's literally put to the bottom of the bottom and lives almost in those villages that you've seen. So these are specific people I want you guys to just take a couple minutes and pray over right now, because they're so near and dear to my heart, and this is what's raising up India. These are the people that are risking their lives every single day to be a Christian. These are the people that I got to come home, but these people live there every single day. These pastors are trying to save people's lives, and they're worshiping gods they don't even know with a religion that they're taught that there's no basis to. There's cows running the streets because they think that they are reborn into the cows. It's absolutely absurd. So just take a couple minutes, reach your hands this way, or just pray just silently for each one of these people, and then I'll end.